Alright. Alright. Let's see how this all goes. Different plane today, slightly different setup. Gonna try to throw some charts up here and see how it all works out. So any sort of feedback is greatly appreciated, as my technology skills are very limited outside of the actual flight deck. But that being said, oh, hello, Sydney. As per the usual, Sydney, please let me know if there are any sound issues or anything like that. I'm also going to try to introduce a new window today to sort of allow you to see a little bit more into what I do here, and that would be some charts. So hopefully you can see the charts that just pulled up. Please let me know if you cannot see the charts. Can you see the charts, though? Let me know if you can see the charts. Still waiting. Can you see the charts? You're too slow to type, so hopefully you can. So what you see up there are Navigraph charts outlining the... oh, sweet, you can see the charts. Outlining the route for today. We're going to be departing beautiful Caldwell Airport in North Jersey, just about a 40-minute drive from New York City. Better known, well, not better known, its official name is Essex County Airport, but no one calls it that. It is Caldwell Airport. Don't be impatient. I will be impatient. Thank you very much. It's a good quality in every single pilot and never has led to anything bad ever happening. And we're going to be doing a flight down the shore. After all, it's a beautiful day here in Jersey. We're using the real world weather, and what is the favorite thing of all New Jerseyans? It's to go down the shore, so that's what we're going to be doing. But rather than just fly direct down the shore, we're going to go ahead and take it out to the Hudson River and take the Hudson River south until we clear some of the New York Special Rules Flight Area airspace, and then we will climb and continue our route down the shore. So hopefully you can see that there on the charts. It's not a direct line. We're also going to attempt to utilize some VOR navigation again, a localizer approach, and but today we're doing it in the Cessna 414A. This is built by the company FlySimware, very high fidelity aircraft, and certainly a lot to handle. This is a pressurized light twin, so it'll keep you on your toes with a lot of things to do. So, you know, that's what are we going to attempt to do today and see if we can remember how to use these VORs and do this localizer approach and all that other jazz. We got everything opened up right now. We'll close in a second. I'm bringing along all of the friends that I don't have. If this were a real flight, those seats would all be occupied by cats because I like cats more than people. If we go back inside here, we can see all these freeloaders back here. This guy looks... What are you staring at? Creep. What are you... What? Bunch of creeps. Anyway. Wait a minute. Is there another person back here? No. Anyway. There you go. Opening a bottle of soda. You spill that on the carpet, you're paying for the detailing. Just letting you know. Alright, so let's go ahead and get this thing all closed up right now. We're going to take the chocks out, close the cabin doors, and the nose doors. There we go. Everything is all closed. Did a little flight planning on this. It is going to require about 400 pounds of fuel. I'm bringing an extra 280 pounds of fuel due to the fact that we've got a full complement of passengers, and of course we're going down the shore. Everybody has bags with them, so you can see our takeoff weight is 7,051 pounds. That is just below our max takeoff weight here of 7,087 pounds. So we're going to use up a lot of runway today. So yeah, we'll see how this goes. I'm gonna go ahead and clear this and put the iPad away as it flies away into the cockpit, and let's get this thing going, shall we? First things first, let's go ahead and turn on our fuel tanks. There we go. Awesome to the possum. Coming on down here, we're gonna turn on our batteries, and you can hear a bunch of fans running. Now that we're getting a little sound, please don't forget to let me know if any of the sounds are off. Okay, prop levers have to go all the way forward. I'm going to crack the throttles a little bit. I'm going to bring the mixtures all the way forward as well to prime the engines, okay, just for priming. Alright, magnetos have to come on. Perfect. Let's make sure our appropriate lights are on, anti-collision lights are on, and nav lights are on. And then let's go ahead and prime the left engine first. And what we're doing is we're just sending some fuel to the engine to help us with ignition. Alright, that should be enough. Bring that mixture back to... Actually, no. We'll leave it full forward. We don't have to start an idle cutoff for this particular airplane. And then let's go ahead and hit the starter, and fingers crossed. I haven't flown this plane in a while. Ooh, we have ignition. Okay, let's check all of our gauges up here. RPMs are coming up. Okay, cylinder temperature is still very low, obviously, but the oil pressure, which is the most important part right now, charts are kind of blocking the screen a little bit. Oh yeah, I left the charts up there, thanks. Boop. Oil pressure is now in the green, so there we go. Alright, let's go ahead and prime the other engine. And now we can go ahead and start it. Just gotta listen to this one. Alright. And oil pressure's in the green on that engine as well. Okay, now that we've done all of that, let's go ahead and turn on our avionics. It's going to turn on all of our instrumentation here. This plane is pretty well equipped with dual Garmin G750 X's in here. These two pieces of equipment right here, not just to buy them, but to install them, I mean, you are looking at a
system test okay.
$20,000 to $25,000 upgrade to your aircraft, as this plane obviously did not come with it originally. We're going to go ahead and lean the engines for taxi a little bit. Alright, right now the air conditioning is on. It's on low blower and cool. I don't think I got a temperature gauge up here to tell me what it is in the cabin. The aircraft is ready to be pressurized. We're going to go ahead and set our cabin altitude, alright, to 2,000 feet, because we're not going to be going over 14,000. That's all set. That's all set. We'll turn on our taxi light, and I think we're pretty much all set. We can also go ahead and turn on our transponder and our autopilot. We'll just leave the flight director on for now, though, as we'll not be engaging the autopilot on the ground. Okay, good. All right, so runway 4 is going to be in use today. So if we go back to, oh, you know what? If we go back to the charts, which I'll pull up here in just a second. Maybe if I can remember. Chart. There we go. Let's see. Nope. See, this is interesting. What happens is if I go to look at the charts on my other monitor, and then I try to sort of re-engage them on the overlay, they disappear. How unfortunate. Oh well. Anyway. You'll figure it out. Alright, let's make sure everybody's clear so I don't run them over. Yeah, sure. What are you doing? Standing right there. Whatever, I guess we'll make a left turn. Jeez, what a jerk. Alright, parking brake's coming off. Just a little bit of power here. This particular aircraft has two flat six turbocharged engines, each producing 310 horsepower. So, definitely not short on power. Turbocharged engines are particularly useful in a general aviation aircraft because, as you know, the higher you climb in altitude, the thinner the air gets. And if the air is thin, that's less air for the engines to breathe. So they literally lose power-making ability. And if I had a normal engine, non-turbocharged, that, say, produced 200 horsepower, by the time I climbed up thousands and thousands of feet, it's entirely possible that it was producing almost 30 to 40% less power. So turbocharging allows there to be a pre-compression of the air so that the engines are actually breathing air that is at sea level for what would be a turbo normalizer, or below sea level for a regular turbocharger, which is the case in this aircraft. Obviously, the bad side to a turbocharger is extra maintenance, extra cost, and you certainly have to watch out for a few other mechanical things too, like overboosting your engines. Some modern aircraft are certainly protected from this, but older aircraft like the Cessna 414 that we're in today are not going to be protected from overboosting. So we can't just go ahead and throw the throttles all the way forward. We could severely damage the intake manifolds as a result. The other nice thing about turbochargers is the way turbochargers are powered is with exhaust gas, so it's actually very energy efficient. The exhaust gas was headed out of the plane anyway, so that exhaust gas is used to spin the turbocharger, which then of course pre-compresses the air going into the engines, so on and so forth. It's a really good system. All right, we're going to make our right turn here at Charlie, and then a left onto Papa. And we're heading down to runway 4. We'll do a quick run up and we will get out of here. We'll try to do that Skyline route, and then down the Hudson, and then down to Wildwood for a few days in the sun. If you've never been to the Jersey Shore, you are missing out. It is a wonderful time, and not at all like that stupid show portrays us as. All right. Nice taxi here. This is an add-on scenery for Flight Simulator, as good as the fidelity is with graphics. This particular airport was an add-on, and I'm trying to remember who created it. To give them their due credit, it is a wonderful scenery and very, very detailed. Alright, before takeoff we will remember to turn the air conditioning off, as that saps power from the aircraft. The turbochargers are also providing power for the air conditioners on this aircraft. They can also provide power for these pneumatic boots on the front of the wing and the horizontal stabilizer, which are de-icing boots. So if we were to fly into icing conditions, we can actually break all of the ice off of the front of the wing, which is really handy. But when capable, just don't go into icing conditions. Bad things happen. Not gonna lie. Alright, we're getting down here to the end of runway 4. We do want the full length of runway today. Alright, we're gonna set our heading up to 043 runway heading. So there we go. Alright. We'll make sure to hold short, not cross the hold short line. Parking brake is set. Going to bring our RPMs up to 2,000. Close enough for government work. Let's go ahead and do our tests. Drop in RPM. Increase in manifold pressure. Drop in oil pressure. Now I'll do the right engine. Drop in RPM. Increase in manifold pressure. Drop in oil pressure. Mixture's full rich. No oil on the windscreen. That's fantastic. Drop in RPM. Drop within limits. Drop within limits. Drop within limits. That all checks. These are fuel injected engines. There's no carburetor heat. Okay. Bring the RPMs back down to about 1,000. We don't want to let it get too low right before takeoff. Make sure all of our temperatures are in the green. All our cylinder head temperatures are in the green. I'm going to go ahead and bring up my traffic screen on the other GPS display. Let's go ahead and turn off our air conditioning. We are in the pressurized mode. Fuel pumps go to, high. For takeoff, landing lights are coming on. And we will turn on our PO heat, stall vent heat. There we go. Alrighty, we're all set for takeoff. Let's see how this goes. All right. Although this is a towered airport, we are not simulating air traffic control today. Apparently, also I'm flying a Swiss aircraft. I just liked the paint job on this. This is very much a North American airport, but it is what it is. I'm gonna go ahead and also arm heading mode. And I should have pre-selected my altitude. We're going to do that momentarily. bring her to a stop here. Now, believe it or not, to do this Hudson River flight, we're only going to start at 1,500 feet. We're going to fly over Teterboro Airport and then down the Hudson. That way we don't actually have to really talk to any air traffic control, but in real life we would talk to Caldwell Tower here as well as Teterboro Tower for flying over. But we have runway heading set. We'll be good kids and also set our course knob so everything's kind of facing in the same direction, and we have the flight director pre-selected to heading. We'll take indicated airspeed mode after takeoff. All right, I think everything's set. Let's cross our fingers. Holding the brakes here, bringing the power up a bit, making sure everything is stabilized. Everything's in the green. Let's do this. Smoothly advancing the throttles so as not to overboost these engines. They are temperamental and you don't want to know how much it costs to overhaul them. Airspeed is alive. Stutters there with my computer. Apologies. We're rotating. Positive rate. Gear up. Alright. Pitch down. We're going to aim for about 115 knots. Indicated airspeed mode. Yaw dampers coming on. Autopilot's coming on. Because I'm a pilot, so the idea is to work as little as humanly possible. Alright. That's Wawa down there. Route 46 in Fairfield. That means that's the Willowbrook Mall right there, if you've ever done any shopping. At the Willowbrook Mall, there's the airport behind me, and if we look out to our east, we should be able to see in the distance New York City. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start turning in that general direction, about a 090 heading. And we're also going to go ahead and turn off our fuel pumps. Fantastic. And we're going to start bringing that power back. Especially because we're already leveling off. We don't want to be barreling too fast towards anything. So about 25 inches of manifold pressure, about 2,500 RPM. There we go. And you can see, even pulling the power back that far, we're still doing well over 150 knots. It's a quick machine for sure. Alright. And you can see it's still accelerating on the indicated airspeed indicator. Everything else looks pretty good. All set up here. Let's see. Any other sights out here we can see? Coming up on Paterson, New Jersey, birthplace of industry. Alrighty. We should be headed right about for Teterboro Airport. Actually, we might be going just a little north of it right now. Let's go ahead and turn 120 on the heading. And I'm going to go ahead and pull up the Teterboro VOR to see the frequency of it so that I can go right to it. 108.4. Alright. 108.4. And we'll transfer that up. CDI is going to be VLOC. There we go. Course. Turn it. Ambiguity flag flip. So we're close, but not that close. So we'll turn a little bit more. You can see we're only 6 miles away now from Teterboro. This flight in the real world happens very quickly, even when you're not in an aircraft quite as fast as the Cessna 414. But we're staying here at 1,500 feet. The reason being we have to stay below New York's Bravo airspace. Could they let us into their airspace? Sure. Will they? No. Maybe if it's like 4 in the morning. Alright, got the Passaic River right here. And that big open field kind of in the distance, that is going to be Teterboro Airport. So we're headed right for it right now. This is Route 80. Oop, a little stuttering there. Blah. A lot of scenery to look at here. That's the Garden State Parkway. And here's Teterboro Airport. So believe it or not, this is real world what's going to happen if you're doing the Hudson River flight. You're going to be at 1,500 feet to cross Teterboro, and then you're going to be given a descent to 1,000 feet to actually go down the river. And you can actually see as Microsoft Flight Simulator starts to create the scenery in front of me, New York, it was stuttering there for a bit. You really need a NASA computer to make this work. Alright, we're going to go back into heading mode. There we go. And here's Teterboro. Teterboro is a massive airport for corporate aviation. There are no flight schools at it, and no airline service either. Because that's Teterboro. Right off here in the distance will be Newark Airport. They are in close proximity to one another. And we are flying right over. So at this point they would tell us to head towards the GW Bridge. Okay, so we're going to start a turn towards the GW Bridge, put it back into heading mode. Here comes the turn. There's Teterboro. See, we got a few clouds today. Nothing crazy. How's everyone doing back there? A bunch of freeloaders. Man, this guy is like being just super creepy. Turn around. God. Anyway. Alright. If we look out in the distance, hard to see. The other thing, too, is that because of the limitations of Flight Simulator, it cannot create all of the world's scenery at any given time, even in the frame of view, until you get close to it, or it would just overwhelm everything here. So it'll probably create the GW Bridge as we get a little bit closer. I'm going to go ahead and bring it just a few more degrees to the right as we head out to the Hudson River. I love this flight. I've done this flight over 50 times in the real world. But one of the things I don't enjoy is how low you have to be to stay out of New York's airspace. Especially in a piston-driven aircraft, engine failures are a very real possibility. And being this low gives you very little time to react, and obviously not a lot of gliding distance. So, yeah, there's that. But we are coming up on the Hudson up here. You can see it right below me, so it's time to begin our descent to 1,000 feet. I'm going to bring my power back. Vertical speed down. There we go. And we're going to start turning down the river. That little warning noise is because I just pulled the power back too far, and it was like, hey, you don't have your landing gear down, and it looks like you're landing. I'm like, no, I'm not landing. Alright. Overshot the turn a little bit here, but we are over the river. Maybe he's about to vomit. Maybe he gets motion sick. No. He's a creep. He's absolutely just a creep. Bringing our power back in, and here we are going down the Hudson. Our goal is going to be to fly down the western shore of the Hudson, the right side. And normally we would just self-announce our position on a common traffic advisory frequency. At predetermined points, there are special charts for this route, but you will never talk to air traffic control while doing this flight, which a lot of people are pretty amazed by. Instead, you would announce that you are abeam the Intrepid Sea, Air, and Space Museum, or the Lincoln Tunnel ventilation towers, the Statue of Liberty, the large clock that is in Jersey City, so on and so forth. But this is exactly what it looks like, just happen to be going a little faster than normal, and I'm going to actually increase my speed just a little bit here, keep this puppy moving. We are burning a lot of fuel right now. I should be able to pull that up there. Yep, 20 gallons per hour per engine, so 40 gallons per hour in total. That's Central Park right there. Not too bad. Not too bad. We can see the World Trade Center. One World Trade Center. And this down here, that's Jersey City, and this is Hoboken. There is a Carnival cruise ship. Apparently. Wow, it really does look like a Carnival cruise ship. That's supposed to be the Intrepid Sea, Air, and Space Museum. This down here is actually the ventilation shaft for the Holland River tunnels. This is now covered. This scenery is actually already out of date, but that happens to be the Penn Station rail yards right here. So there's the Empire State Building, all that fun touristy stuff. And I'm just kidding, it's touristy, but I love doing it too. Cutting it back over, so we stay over the river here. Try not to annoy too many of the people that live right along the banks of the Hudson. Not that they can probably hear a plane like this unless I was going right past their window, but actually at 1,000
Obstacle
feet.
ahead. Pull
Obstacle
up.
ahead. Oh no.
Obstacle ahead. Obstacle ahead.
I don't think there actually is an obstacle ahead. I mean, this building. We're going to just inhibit TAWS right now, and you can stop being that way. At 1,000 feet, we are actually below the top of the World Trade Center, as well as many of the other buildings along what they call Billionaires Row. So it's kind of crazy. You're looking out your window, and you have to look up to see the top of the building. Alrighty. Jersey City. This is the old Communipaw train station. This is Ellis Island. There is Liberty Island with the Statue of Liberty. There, off in the distance, is going to be Newark Airport. And we're headed now down towards the Verrazano Bridge. Let's go ahead and tune in Colts Neck VOR as our next point. 115.4. Transfer. Right. Let's get that all set up. Of course, even at this low altitude, it looks like the frequency's coming in pretty well. There we go. Not too shabby. Let's see if we can nav onto that. There we go, VOR. And now I think it is time to climb, as we are pretty low out here. Alright, we'll start with a nice 8,000 feet, and let's go ahead and go into indicated airspeed mode. Alright, and now by reducing the airspeed, it will climb to dissipate it. And I'll bring in climb power now. Alrighty, not too shabby. We're getting a pretty good climb rate. Tracking the Colts Neck VOR, which we're 21 miles from. Everything's looking just snazzy. Gauges are all in the green. I still have fuel on board. I made sure to take a little extra fuel, knowing I was going to be flying pretty low. And let me just check my paperwork, because I can't remember what my cruising altitude is supposed to be today. I am planned at 16,000 feet. Yoicks. 16,000 feet's awfully high. But one of the reasons that an aircraft like this would benefit from being up that high is because it's pressurized. Unlike most general aviation aircraft, this cabin is pressurized, meaning it's just like an airliner. So those turbochargers are being used to squeeze air, force it into the cabin, so we feel like we're still breathing at a lower altitude. Whereas we can save a lot of fuel by flying in thinner air up higher. You can think about it like pushing a boat through the water. You know, the lower you are to the ground, okay, the thicker the air is, so it's kind of like trying to push a boat through water. But if the density of that decreases as you go up, it provides less friction for the aircraft, and we can actually save a lot of fuel and go faster at the same time. Turn on some lights here, because we got some shadows from the clouds and all that jazz. Doing 150 knots and still climbing at about 1,300 feet per minute, so we're doing pretty well here. Colts Neck is 17.4 miles away. This right here, Sandy Hook. So we're crossing over the bay right now. If we turn around, we can actually see a lot, kind of from where we're coming from. That's the Hudson River. There's the East River. This is Brooklyn. Queens is out there. This, of course, is Staten Island, one of New York's 5 boroughs. And it looks like we're going into a cloud. We probably shouldn't actually be flying into a cloud, since we are not IFR, but watch me care. Right. There were a few thunderstorms over the Jersey coast, about halfway down the shore, so we're going to do our best to avoid those. But no promises. No promises at all. Alright, let's bring back our prop speed a little bit more. And reduce our mixtures just a little bit. Climbing higher now, so the engines don't need as much fuel. Alright. One of the other things we want to check now too is our cabin pressurization. You can see here that the cabin is neither climbing nor descending. So even though the airplane is climbing, the cabin is not. And that's because you can see right here our differential pressure is in the green and our cabin altitude is already at 2,000 feet, which is what I set it for here. If I move my cabin altitude up to 3,000 feet, now my cabin altitude is climbing at 500 feet per minute, and this large hand is going to move up to 3. So it'll be as sitting in the cabin, it will feel like we are 3,000 feet above sea level. What would be the benefit to that? Well, it's going to put less stress on the aircraft skin, because as the plane is pressurized, it's trying to push out, and so those kind of cycles can be a lot on the aircraft. But realistically, you want the lowest cabin pressure you possibly can have, up to a certain limit, because that's the most comfortable for the people in the cabin. Alright, still climbing here. We're going to go ahead and reduce our vertical or speed just a little bit to about 140 knots. There we go, and look at that, beautiful. Coming back over Jersey, here's the very beginning of the Jersey Shore. Like I said, that's going to be Sandy Hook. Not a very creative name. It's barely visible here through the light clouds, but this is Naval Weapons Station Earl, and it's this very, very long finger pier connected by railroad all the way into the interior of New Jersey, and that's where a lot of our munitions ships will dock, and they'll resupply with weapons, artillery, missiles, rockets, anything you can think of, and then those ships are going to bring it out to sea to resupply our naval ships that are underway, as it were. But the reason it's all the way out there in the middle of the bay is obviously when you're dealing with a lot of explosive ordnance, it's best to have it away from people. 7,000 climbing 8,000. Getting there. After Colts Neck, we're going to head to Atlantic City, the VOR, and then on to Wildwood here. Looking good. As we level off, our airspeed, our ground speed, and everything else should increase. It's capturing it now. I don't know if it's a limitation of the autopilot or some quirk in the software, but this autopilot does tend to bounce around a little bit, so maybe that passenger in the back is getting motion sick. Who knows? I don't care. He didn't pay anything for this flight. Like I said, he's a freeloader. Alright, we're leveling off. One thing I forgot to check was the temperature in the back, to see if we need air conditioning again. It is actually kind of cool in the back right now. You can see it's probably about 58 degrees. I could actually do with a little bit of heat, believe it or not. But here we are, accelerating. Now that we've leveled off, get a little speed under our belt here. You can see we're doing about 194 knots over the ground. Once we stop accelerating, I'll reduce my power so that we burn a little less fuel. But let the aircraft get up to the speed we should be at first before we go ahead and modify any of our power settings. The nice thing too about this aircraft is with the autopilot engaged, it's going to automatically trim the plane as well, unlike the plane I was flying yesterday, A2A's Piper Comanche, where I had to manually spin the trim wheel where the autopilot would yell at me. Alright. We're going to bring the power back a little bit so as to burn a little less fuel. And then we're going to bring our props back as well. Mixtures. And we're going to go verify all these things on our instrumentation momentarily. As we bring back our mixture, one of the things is that we're going to have to watch our cylinder head temperature to make sure it's not too hot. We're also going to put our prop sync on so that there's no harmonic imbalance between our two propellers, because that can create a weird vibration and noise that's a little disorienting for the passengers and the pilot. Alright, so we're doing 206 knots over the ground. Let's see what that is in miles an hour. Not bad. 233 miles per hour. Again, just a skosh faster than most New Jerseyans drive anyway. Beautiful area. Most of these towns are bedroom communities for those commuting to New York. We can actually see the Garden State Parkway right here. Everybody's favorite road to go down the shore. Except for all the traffic. A lot of traffic. But what are you going to do? Alright, let me check something and see about time. Alright. Says to destination about 22 minutes. We're going to try something right now. And we're going to attempt to accelerate time. We're going to go with just 2 times the normal rate. I don't want to go too fast here. Alright, we're past Colts Neck. Should have noticed that. Yeah, it even went into roll mode. So let's go ahead and change to heading mode right now. And the Atlantic City VOR is 117.15. 11715. Transfer. And does not seem to be picking up the VOR. We're still headed in the right general direction though, so that's good. But let's go ahead. I'm going to pull up my chart real quick. Make sure that actually is the frequency. I wrote it down very quickly, and it's possible I copied it down wrong. Alright. Atlantic City VORTAC 117.15. Nope, that's correct. So the issue here might be that we're just a little too low for it. So let's go ahead and climb up to 10,000 feet. Remember, we are in 2 times speed mode, so everything might get a little jittery here. Here we go. Go back to indicated airspeed and let this puppy climb a bit. And what we're looking for is this little red flag in the HSI to go away. This little red barber pole flag, this nav flag, is indicating to me that it's not working. It's not receiving a signal. So that's no bueno. We're going to climb up a little higher and see what happens. If not, I'll find another VOR down there to tune, and we'll fly to that instead. I'm going to head just a little bit more towards the coast at this point, though. At the very worst case scenario, I can follow the coastline down. Well, not from above the clouds, I guess. Alright, 9,000, climbing 10,000. And if we look here, it actually says it's identifying ACY, Atlantic City. And look at that. The flag disappeared. Just as I was saying that. Alright, looks like we can nav onto it now, so let's go ahead and do that. Awesome to the possum, 38.6 miles away. Ooh, getting a little bumpy there. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn off the accelerator for a moment, let the plane figure itself out, and then we'll go back to it momentarily. Also just going to let the plane accelerate again. Alright, everything is still in the green. Cylinder head temperatures are well within the green. We'll pull our mixtures back a little bit more. Now that we're at 10,000 feet. Alright, let's also go ahead above 10,000 feet. We'll retract our landing lights. There we go. See, we can look down here, and our cabin pressure differential is 5 psi, and it can go up, or I'm sorry, it's 3 psi, the max is 5. So I can actually reduce my cabin altitude right now to 2,000 feet. And this large hand will go down towards the 2, but the small hand is going to increase because now the pressure differential between the inside of my cabin and the outside air is going to increase, and it's going to literally exert more pressure outwards on the fuselage itself, on the cabin. But as long as it doesn't exceed the red, then we're okay. Alright, so here we are, we've re-accelerated, we'll pull our power back just a little bit, save us some gas. Okay, right at 10,000 feet, I've lost all sight of the ground down there, and let's go ahead and put on some time acceleration. And we're going to test this out too, just to see how much we can accelerate it without my computer losing its mind. Alright, so right now it's saying we're 32 2 miles from Atlantic City. You can see it counting down pretty fast at 2 times the acceleration. I don't know if you can hear that. There's a very loud, obnoxious motorcycle outside. Probably a Harley. Alright, let's try 4 times the speed. What we're looking for is to see if the plane gets a little jittery. But you can see it counting down real fast right now. Whoa. Yeah, we are hauling. I don't think I dare go up to 8 speed for fear that everything is going to just kind of explode. We're going to be doing the localizer approach to runway 19 today at Cape May Wildwood Airport. Now, localizer approach is half of an ILS. An ILS is an instrument landing system that has a localizer, which is a vertical beam that keeps you laterally aligned with the runway. And it also has a glide slope signal, which is a horizontal line that allows you to maintain a glide path or a very nice, precise vertical descent to the runway. But a localizer approach is kind of old school because it doesn't have a glide slope, so there's no vertical guidance for it. So we're going to do the dive and drive method. Now, before we get any closer, I'm going to reduce to 1 speed. I'm going to go ahead. Ooh, flying through the clouds now. You guys throwing up back there? Nope, you're just being creepy. You know what? It's a kid. He's just watching a kid. Release the lists. He's on it. Release the lists. That guy is absolutely on it. Unbelievable. Because we're flying through clouds right now, let's check our outside air temperature. It's just below 50 degrees Fahrenheit. So we don't have to worry too much about ice. We're below 10 degrees Celsius, and ice can build up. Not seeing anything, though, right now on the pneumatic boots. So we should be all right. I'm going to pull up my chart on my screen real quick so that I can see it. All right, it's going to be 20 miles between the Atlantic City VOR and the initial approach fix for the localizer approach. So that's more than enough time to step down in altitude. So we're going to maintain 10,000 feet for now. And when we get to the Atlantic City VOR, we got to fly outbound on the 237 degree radial. Perfect. This is what I like to see. We're also going to put in the low frequency. Actually, we'll put this one on standby. There we go. And now that should populate my RMI over here. F1, F1, F2. Yep, pointing in the same direction, so everything looks good there. Wonderful, 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 wonderful. All right. Back in the clouds, never any fun, but it is what it is. We're only 8 miles from the Atlantic City VOR, so we're cruising now. We're doing 214 knots over the ground. It's saying I have a message. It's probably because I'm overflying the Atlantic City airspace right now. All right. All right, let's go ahead and accelerate this just a little bit more. Look at that. I wish I could do this in the real world. That would be the best. Oh, charts are in the way again. Wait, what? I didn't click the charts on. Oh my god. Alright, see, this is one of the interesting things about all this. Alright, well, while the chart is up there, you can see the approach. Maybe I can move it too for you. Let's see. Hold on. I'm going to move it down here a little bit. Still kind of in the way. But what happened was, I went to go look at the charts, and then I came back, and it magically popped up. Well, that is the localizer approach to runway 19. And if you're looking at it, if you look kind of from the top right-hand side of that chart, that is going to be where we're coming in from as we approach the initial approach fix, which is called KDs. All right, speaking of which, I'm going to pull the charts up on my side again. I'm going to get rid of them here, pull my charts up so that I can see them. Alright, we need to be outbound on the 237. I'm going to go ahead and put this into heading mode because we are getting very close. I'm going to turn my course knob to 237 because that will be my outbound course. And I'm kind of just waiting here. We should actually be over it right about now. I'm going to go there. It's almost like I've done this before. My goodness. So I'm going to go ahead and start turning the plane in that general direction. We're in what's called the cone of confusion right now. My ambiguity indicator just flipped, and now it's showing I'm on the from side of the VOR, so I'm headed away from the VOR, and we can confirm that by looking down here at our DME, distance measuring equipment. It's now at 1.9 and increasing. Here comes my CDI, my course deviation indicator, and as it gets closer, I'm going to go ahead and re-engage nav mode. There's nav mode. Alright. We can begin a descent now to our MDA, minimum descent altitude of 2,500 feet for this segment. Whoops, too far. I said 2,500. Oh my goodness. If you scroll too fast, it like jumps. Slow, patient. Okay. And we're going to do our descent in vertical speed mode. 1,000 feet per minute. And we're also going to go ahead and set our cabin pressurization controller down to sea level. That way the cabin starts depressurizing. And you can see that the cabin rate is descending right there. That's looking good. Let's go ahead and turn our landing lights back on now. We'll make sure we don't overspeed, but I don't mind the fact that we're headed downhill right now. Prop sink's coming off. We'll put our mixtures full back forward just because I'll forget to do it. Awesome to the possum. And we got about 15 miles to the initial approach fix, which at this speed is going to go very, very quickly. Not a ton to look at out here, but we can actually see all the way across the peninsula. This is Cape May County, New Jersey. Here's the shore. That's Atlantic City behind me. I'm not entirely, I always forget if that's, no, it's not Avalon or Stone Harbor. That's much further down. Ocean City, maybe? I don't know. There are legitimately like 90 shore towns, so it's kind of hard to keep track of them all. I need to go ahead and put my localizer frequency in to, here it's going to be 108.9. There we go. Enter. And we're just going to leave that in standby for now. Let's go ahead and increase our descent rate. The nice thing about a pressurized aircraft is, even if I set this to say 2,000 feet per minute, which is a descent rate which would absolutely hurt your ears, like your ears would be popping pretty wildly right here, the cabin descent rate is still only 500 feet per minute. So it's very, very comfortable. I'm going to start to bring back my power a little bit though. Alright. Everything's looking good. Oh, so you can have patience when turning the knob, but not when you type slowly. No, I cannot. That is accurate. So sorry. Alrighty. Hitting knob. Alright, so if you remember, a non-precision approach, because there's no vertical guidance for us, all we have is what are called MDAs, or minimum descent altitudes. These are altitudes which we can step down to based on where we are on the approach. It's a much more non-precise way of flying. We often call it the dive and drive because that's exactly what we're doing. We are just diving and then driving. But Cape May Wildwood does not have a full ILS approach. It has the localizer approach and it also has GPS approaches. Realistically, in the real world, if I had to shoot an approach down here, I'd be doing the GPS approaches. That is just the way the world is going. They tend to be much more precise and a lot easier to fly. But seeing as I'm having a little bit of fun on Flight Simulator today, we're going to do the localizer approach. Alright. Everything's looking rosy. We're about 5 miles away from our initial approach fix. The other thing too is that in reality, Atlantic City approach control would probably be giving us headings, vectors, to fly at this point. I'm going to go ahead and go into heading mode. I'm going to switch my frequency so that the localizer comes up, and now I have to put in my what's called front course, which I've already forgotten what that number is, so I got to pull up my chart again. 190. So we're going to spin so we get to 190 on the OBS. There we go. And now we can see exactly which way the runway is pointed, which way I'm going, and my intercept. It's kind of a nice intercept angle. Now sometimes this works and sometimes it doesn't, but we're going to go ahead and engage nav mode, and it should arm nav mode without the plane going too crazy. No, you shouldn't be turning that way yet. Back to heading mode. Don't you dare. You turned too early, kid. Way too early. Ay, 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 ay. Silly airplane. Tricks are for kids. Alright, as we're leveling off at 2,500 feet, I need to bring my charts back up so I can actually see them. Always helps. And the plane's going to start decelerating, which is what I want. I don't want to be going too fast for this course intercept. After KGs, which is going to be indicated when we intercept, here it comes now. So I'm going to go ahead and lead it a little bit with the heading knob, and I'm going to arm up nav. And you can see it turns to loc. It even knows that it's a localizer approach only. Fantastic. So it's going to line ourselves. Looking great. Alright, the Sea Isle VOR is on 114.8. And that'll be on our RMI right here, which is spinning around crazily. But that'll tell me where I am on the approach. So I'm using the back end of that needle to help me out right there. We're coming up on 333. Perfect. So that means we're past KGs, and we can step down now to 1,700 feet. So let's go ahead and do that. There's 1,700 vertical speed. And we'll go down and bring the power back. Props are going to go full forward now. That's going to provide a little extra drag. You can hear them spinning up there. Now the next radial we're looking for off of Sea Isle is 284. That's for Kimba. After Kimba, then we can go down to 460 feet. So you can see when we're within these other radials coming off of another VOR, we can use them to create our step downs. It's a lot easier when you just use GPS instead of like, hey, let's do this, let's check this, let's have multiple VORs on different radios. But it's fun nonetheless. All right. Here comes our level off at 1,700 feet. Again, we're looking for 284. So you can see, uh-oh, didn't mean to do that. Nav2, there we go. You can see the tail of the RMI, which is a radio magnetic indicator, by the way, is slowly moving in that direction. And when it gets to 284, which is right about here, that's when I know I can go down to my next altitude. Kimba is only 5 miles out from the runway when we hit that, so let's go ahead and get the gear down. Alright, gear is down. You can see our airspeed is decreasing because obviously we just threw a lot of air resistance out there into the slipstream. I'm going to go ahead and pre-select my next altitude. It says 460. Obviously, I have to do increments of 100. So we're going to set 500 in here. And as soon as we hit 284, we're going to start our descent to it. And we're coming. There's 27, there's 28, there's 285, 284. Perfect. Vertical speed down 800 feet per minute and put in our first notch of flaps. And you can see the flaps coming down right there. These are split flaps. Kind of old school. Okay, fuel pumps are coming on. Cabin is now depressurized. Fantastic. All my lights are on. Everything's looking great. The next radial I'm looking for here is 244. 244. All right. All right. So once the tail end of it hits 244, I can go down to 360 feet. All right, hit it again. There we go. If you hear that tone, kind of sounds like an outer marker, but whatever. Now, obviously, we're flying VFR, so I can see the runway out here. Again, we're doing this for practice sake. I'm going to increase my descent rate. Second notch of flaps help me out here a little bit because we are coming up on 244. When it hits 244, we can go down, like I said, to 360 feet. All right. A little more power in there. So waiting on that 244. We're almost there. Looks like we're not going to make the 500, so we're going to go ahead and put this right down to 400 right now. leveling anyway. A little more power as we level off. We need to increase our airspeed again. There's 244, vertical speed. Alright, it's only 100 feet, but it is what it is.
500.
And look what's right in front of us. Autopilot's coming off. Yaw damper's coming off. Flight director's coming off. And that's how you do a localizer approach. Dive and drive. We'd also, of course, just like I mentioned in previous videos, you do have to be announcing this is an uncontrolled airport. Even though it looks like there's a control tower out there, there isn't. That's just auto-generated scenery. The PAPI, the 4 lights on the left, now indicate I'm on the slope. 2 red, 2 white. And I'm aiming for these 2 white blocks here, which is known as the aiming point. Start bringing back my power smoothly. Allowing all my energy to dissipate. A little bit of rudder, just a little bit of rudder. Very touchy controls, very touchy. Ooh, brutal. Absolutely brutal. Touchdown, don't care. Passengers got to ride for free. What do they care? Slow. Can I make this turn off? Absolutely slamming on the brakes there. Probably melted the brakes. Don't really care. Turn, 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 turn. And there's the taxiway. Like a glove. Sorry, I did not want to go down to the next taxiway. Alright. We're going to go ahead and clear the runway here. Taxi down and we'll park this thing. Woo! Alright, let's clean her up. Flaps are coming up. Fuel pumps off. It's looking good. Let's lean it for taxi. Make sure our cabin is depressurized before we open any doors. Go ahead and turn off our landing lights. I love how they have a big airport rescue and firefighting vehicle here. That definitely doesn't exist in real life at this airport. This airport was built mostly for World War II. It was used as a training station for aircraft. They also housed German prisoners of war. We're just going to kind of park anywhere. I don't really care where I drop these passengers off. Looks like there's some tie-down spaces over here, so maybe we'll go over that way. Instead of being rude, you know. Important thing with these aircraft that are turbocharged, that have big block engines, you do want to allow them to cool down prior to shutting them down. It's usually about 3 minutes on the ground. A little further forward. Almost made it. That T-line will be right under our wings. Close enough for government work. Bring it to a stop. We will set our parking brake. Fantastic. That all looks great, great, great. Let's turn our avionics off. Okay, we'll turn our nav lights off. Everything else is off. And then we're going to go ahead and bring our props all the way back. And we're going to bring our mixtures to cut off. One of the things I really like about this this add-on here is that you can actually hear the engines, like the sound of hot engine metal contracting now that they're shut down. Once all that's done, we'll use the gang bar to turn the magnetos off. We will turn off our alternators. We will turn off our anti-collision light. We'll turn off the heat. I should have turned that off before. Master switch is off. And then coming on down here, oops, and turn our fuel off, and then we're going to kick these people right on out the airplane. Turn our iPad on. Fantastic. And I think it's under this one. Nope. Yep. We need some chocks. We need some pitot covers. And then we need to open the doors. We even have little wing lockers, which is really cool. So you can see these little... Can't store much back there, but usually most pilots put extra quarts of oil and stuff. So there we go. Get out of my plane, folks. We just flew the whole length of New Jersey, including a Hudson River tour. And in doing so, probably spent, no joke, at least $400 on fuel. And then certainly put aside a little extra money for maintenance and parking fees. Aviation is not cheap. All right. That is about it. That seemed to work mostly well. Let me try to bring up my charts again. Nope. See, when I go to click on them, charts don't work. Oh well. That is something I'm going to have to fix. See ya.